We're up for another very interesting day. What's on the agenda?
Well, today we are going to discuss a bit the supply chain with the shipping companies. So we have Mr. Jens Siedentopf from Samskip with us here in the studio. We also have Mr. Kent-Ove Jacobsen from G2 Ocean on the line, as well as Mr. Frank Droog from Maersk, I believe.
All right, welcome, gentlemen, virtual gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you over there. So, okay, we're going to discuss capacity, scarcity, and all those things that are going on in ocean shipping. And let me start with you, because you're here with us. How does the current capacity crunch affect your business?
Well, you know, in Samskip, it's a bit of a twofold scenario we have. We are vessels owner. We have our container vessels trading mainly in Europe and in the northern part hemisphere, I would say. So we are a bit different from the global players that are also part of this panel, right? But on the other side, we are also offering shipping services like freight forwarding services. So it affects us in two ways. One thing is that our container business, based on our own fleet, is of course enjoying a bit of a high because, you know, rates are, I would say, friendly to owners right now, to say the least. Mm-hmm. Even if we are trading in probably different, we are not trading globally, so we cannot participate on the increase, say, from Far East to Europe and from Far East to South America. But being owners, we cannot complain. On the other side, acting as freight forwarders also, there is certainly a complaint because the capacity available from the carriers, including Samskip, but we manage, but others probably have an issue. The capacity is really, really low, and there's a high demand for various reasons. We may go into that, I would assume. So it affects our daily routine work. Daily routine has changed. It's a different routine versus like a year ago or 2 years ago. But it's interesting and challenging, and we cope with it. Yeah. And it's a nice new environment.
Yeah, it's good to see it in a positive way. But project cargo is already a niche market, so I can only imagine this is double affected. How do you deal with this capacity crunch for this particular sector?
I love the question, you know, because in project movements, it's all about trust and confidence in partners that you have. So you need to have a certain confidence and a good relation to project carriers to make sure they accept your cargoes. One topic is long-lasting commitments that you may have entered before the rates raised as much as we can see it. But the other one is also, you know, to keep the carriers aware of the fact that it is not always a market like this. There's also other times they may need the cargo more than they need it now. So what I'm trying to say is build a relation and make sure that you know you get a good partnership with the carriers and with the partners you need in order to make sure that you can serve your clients best, talking about space restrictions and talking about moderate rate increases.
But do you have space for project cargo?
On our fleet, you know, as I said earlier, in Samskip we have mainly container vessels in our fleet. However, we have two, I always call it the gems of our fleet, you know. It is two LNG-propelled multi-purpose vessels. We have trading up mainly up to the Norway coast. So with them, we have a certain flexibility because of the trade we run into to accept cargo challenges as much as possible. It is a liner service. I think, Adnan, we come also back to that one later on. Yes. But there is a certain flexibility we can offer if a client really needs us to perform out of the schedule. So again, it is a challenge, but we manage that quite well, and our clients are quite happy with what Samskip delivers also for the breakbulk and project cargo movements.
You had a little moment there. Can you explain liner services?
Yes, because we discussed this prior to today's session before having conversations regarding the summit. So I asked earlier, how does the liner service fill in with the project cargo? What happens when there is a cargo option or opportunity to pick up cargo that's outside of your regular line or lane? So
Good
I
question.
think something that you can expand on.
Yeah, well, as I said, we have a certain flexibility built in our schedule for our vessels, but we don't entertain only project cargo carrying vessels. It's only few MPPs we have. So other carriers offering only project cargo or project-related multi-purpose vessels, they may have a bigger challenge these days. Yes.
All right, Frank. I hope. Hello. How is it? Okay, you may have muted yourself. Yes.
Yeah, that is better.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. It's quite early. That is my.
Where are you
I'm
based then, Frank?
I'm in Houston.
Oh, okay, and what time is it there?
It's now what is it 2:10 or something
In the night.
a.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
let's have an
So-
applause at home for Frank
No,
because this
no,
is
no.
really
There are-
amazing. You
No, I saw in the next session Dennis Matola is also and he's later half hour later. So he's also
Okay.
from my area.
Oh, we appreciate
No,
you waking up for
yeah.
us. Now, how is this for Maersk? Because we have this non-standardized market, not a lot of predictability, and yet you have a restriction in capacity. And to which extent are you able to plan your journeys?
Yeah, I think the current situation is not clear up soon, right? It's so congested on certain trades, but on the other side, there are also a lot of opportunities because carriers need also their boxes or their flat racks or open tops also on spots that is needed. That so if you for instance, have some cargo to those destinations, then yeah, it's a lot cheaper than before. I think on our side, yeah, we do a lot to clean up and to get everything back in to normal. But yeah, the demand is so strong, and also yeah, still we are in the COVID period. That so on terminals you see congested because there are some cases. But also on the trucker side, for example, in North America, yeah, you see some problems, and yeah, you must plan ahead with project cargo, with special cargo. Once you do that, yeah, you are there. There is space. That so it's not that there is no space in the market, but you must plan ahead and find your way. And sometimes the port pairs that you want to take are not available. Now, well, look to another port pair and take that port, right? That so it's you must be very flexible, very knowledgeable in at the moment.
But how flexible and knowledgeable is the project cargo industry? Because you may be, but is your customer as well?
Yeah, I think if for example, if you have a project forwarder, if you see the project forwarders in the world, and of course you have a couple of big players, but they have also a niche department in their brand. That so most of the times the project forwarders are very knowledgeable and capable to find their way. They have yeah, I see always good contacts. That so, but it is challenging to find your way. And sometimes, yeah, 20 people that you can reach out, and probably you must extend that number of people to find finally a solution and think out of the box.
Well, it's not fitting in the box anyway, so we are already outside the box. But
Yeah, no, yeah, well.
are they? I mean, are they able to plan in advance? Because project cargo is often on something that.
And how far in advance do you have to plan for like large projects?
No, yeah. If you have a couple of flat racks, think
You disappeared for a while, or you stopped?
Basis. And if you have a larger project, yeah, starts as early as you can, reach out to the carriers and try to to make them aware of your project and work together to deliver.
Yeah. Now, Kent-Ove, you're also on the line with us.
Hi, good morning.
And good morning, and you're from G2Ocean, and you have some
Correct.
experience in having chartered vessels to move project cargo. What dictates?
Yeah, well, we move a lot of project cargo on our own vessels, but we also sometimes need to add to our fleet by chartering in external tonnage.
And what dictates the decision to make use of a dedicated vessel?
It depends. I mean, now we see a lot of port congestion around the world eating into our capacity. And that means that maybe a vessel will be late for a position in another region, which again means that we have to go into the market to search for replacement tonnage. But most of the time we manage to cope with our own fleet. We have a fleet of around 100 vessels and we're able to shift them around. But I would say that the congestion we see in the ports is a serious problem and it eats into our capacity.
Would you recommend having dedicated vessels to other market players?
What do you mean exactly by that question?
Do you think it's a good solution to the problem, or you think it's a luxury?
Well, I think flexibility is for sure a part of the solution here. And I also think part of the solution is like the other two members of this forum have said, is planning. And I think the current situation places greater onus on shippers to plan ahead. And that's the way we work with customers also in G2Ocean. We work closely with them to plan ahead. And by doing this, we are sure that they maintain a predictable supply chain. And we can also then plan our fleet ahead. And we see now customers, especially for the larger projects, like large offshore wind projects, they are looking maybe 2 to 3 years ahead in planning the capacity they need.
Yeah. Now, if you look at these factors, Jens, and you realize that this is also a growing market, more project cargoes coming to the market, would you consider investing in more dedicated vessels?
Well, we have always the aim to invest in our fleet in any case, you know. What is a bit an odd situation is everybody talks about environmental friendly engines to use. However, for our MPPs that I mentioned earlier, the LNG price, it went through the roof, even more than the usual MGO that you need, right? So it's a bit of a give and take, but of course we are interested in also, you know, investing our money that we earn in good times to be on top of the action, also in terms of our fleet available and our own fleet available.
Yeah.
Is an increase in investment in new vessels something that's expected after this period, as you said, of good times?
Well, I was reading an interview this morning with a substantial container carriers placing new or ordering new buildings at a certain level that is beyond consideration if times were not good. So yes, there is a certain there's a certain aim to invest the money now. They may run into problems again, you know, at the container yards to find them to produce as much as they want to have and as fast as they want to have. But to us, with our smaller sized container vessels and with our MPPs, this is not much of a big problem. But back to your question, sorry for a long answer, but we will invest and we look into it as we speak.
All right,
yes.
That's hot news here. And if you look at the ship and you have to decide whether you're gonna book containers or project cargo, what would be then the main reason for you to choose for that customer of project cargo?
Well, if you ask a question to a project guy like me, I'm a bit unflexible in replying for the container part of it, you know. I reached a certain age where I made my decision to be in the project world, so it would be unfair to listen to my opinion about the container segment.
But I would like to hear your opinion.
Yeah, right. But you know, the project field is always a playground where you can feel that the people need to have a certain flexibility more than in other segments of our ocean freight business. Yeah. So go for project cargo, yes.
Yes, because you do need that person who offers that flexibility, you mean?
Yes, right. And they have a certain better understanding versus others. Don't misread me, yeah? But they have a better understanding usually if you're into the project and multi-purpose vessel field to have a certain flexibility. Because it's not just supply chain, it's not just boxes, it's not like if it comes to a special day, special flat racks, for example. But project cargo is always different from the day prior to that day. So more interesting in any case, and probably for some owners that are specialized on that one, of course, it's the core to their success that they have been flexible.
Is it also more profitable for you?
I guess the containers boys, we have to ask the two gentlemen in the audience. They make a good living right now, so I'm not complaining for us. But if I would be in Maersk or G2 Ocean, I wouldn't complain either.
What can you tell us, Kent-Ove, since you're now visible in the screen?
Yeah, certainly containers are profitable at the moment. But if you go back 12 to 18 months, you saw that container carriers were aggressively pursuing project cargo. And it was almost a race to the bottom then. And I think during the last 3 or 4 years, you've seen Hansa Heavylift, Semarine, Hanjin go out of business. But today, that market is upside down. Now you see goods are taken out of containers, transported as breakbulk to our benefit. And containers are also loaded directly onto breakbulk ships or even heavy lift vessels with 900-ton lifting capacity. So that means now that the project cargo and heavy lift cargo is directly exposed to the container market and the developments in container market. So the market has just turned upside down over the last 12 months.
Do you think that's a positive development?
It's a positive development that it has helped on the margins of all the carriers, both in the container segment, the heavy lift segment, and the breakbulk segment. But again, it places a greater onus on planning ahead, especially for the project cargo customers with a little bit of complex demands.
All right. Now, we also want to have the audience have a say in this, and there is a poll which you may have noticed next to the chat. You may have already filled it in. That's great. We're going to focus a bit on it now. I read the poll for you. At the moment, it's not smart to dedicate space on container ships for breakbulk or project cargo. Now, I'm very curious to hear your opinion on that. Please fill in the poll right now. We're going to have a look at the results in a little bit. But Frank, first, I would like to ask you, what do you think? Is it not smart?
No, yeah, I'm not agree on that sometimes because there are some port pairs that you can take with the container carrier better, transit-wise, but also cost-wise. And of course, you have also the dedicated breakbulk carriers. But there are some benefits to book your cargo on container carriers with an tight schedule. That's so it's on the 30th in Rotterdam, for example. But yeah, if you have a larger amount of cargo, it can maybe cheaper than to take a dedicated vessel or a breakbulk vessel. That's so it depends the size and the route and what is the best to take out of the market and to take for your cargo. That's so it's always looking around and see also what are the client's needs are, right? So that is also important because they pay the whole journey and they must be happy with your service.
Yeah, but I realize you answered this question from the customer's perspective. Is that correct? Not.
Not from a carrier perspective, you mean?
Yeah, not from your perspective.
No, yeah. Well, I think it's sometimes. I think I have the same opinion, and I'm always looking to classes with out on point of a customer.
Yeah.
I think to have my own opinion, the customer, they decide if they go tomorrow to Asia out of the US with all the cargo. Yeah, then I can put ships in place to Europe, but it makes no sense, right? So I'm always listening to the customers.
All right. Now, Jens, what do you have to say?
Frank, just a question on that one, okay? A question on that one, Frank. If I were your client, which sometimes Samskip is, if we had project cargo to move, how much lead time would you need to say accommodate it in a common port pair with some more or less regular cargo? Let's say 80 tons metric and 15 by 5 by 5, just to give it a number, right? And just to give the audience a feeling on how would you handle it? How much lead time would you need if the port pair fits and if you had space?
Now, for example, if you take Houston as an example, I'm part of the team in North America of Maersk, and we have a dedicated team of solution design, procurement, and operations located in one office, and of course we are working from home those days. But if you see those shipments, then we can arrange it in 2 weeks and can ship it out. And if we need a floating crane or not, that is not a problem for us at all. For example, in Houston, and I think those days. We do a lot of those shipments, right? But sometimes, you find a no because the vessel is already late in, or there is already some congestion, and it's better to take a next vessel. That is something then we discuss with the client. If that is possible, then we do that. So then you come back on what we say together, right? You must be flexible at the moment.
Is that a good offer, Jens?
Well, I would love to give it a shot, you know. For Samskip, it's about the same lead time, you know. But in the end, under the line, it would need to make sure that the manufacturers, the shippers, they approach the shipping lines as early as possible, especially these days, to make sure the needs are highlighted, and we can do our homework to check if and when we can accommodate the cargo more than ever.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what the audience had to say about whether it's smart at all.
The audience agrees. 75% of them agree.
That is a smart decision.
Yes.
So project cargo is still very welcome on the vessels.
No, that the project cargo, I'm sorry, is not a smart decision.
Oh, not a smart decision.
Yes.
Okay, it's not very welcome. That's surprising. What do you think, Kent-Ove? Would you expect this reaction?
Yeah, I'm not surprised because when you build a brand new container ship and you put out-of-gauge project cargo on that, it's sub-optimization of that capacity. And when you put containers on a heavy lift vessel with 900-ton lifting capacity, it's really sub-optimizing that vessel capacity because you don't need to build the 900-ton vessels to transport containers. But the current market dictates that we are willing to accept some sub-optimizing to keep cargo moving, of course.
All right.
But I understand that reaction from the audience.
Okay, now we are talking to you anyways. I would like to discuss another hot topic, the rates. Are there any differences in the rates for project cargo and regular container cargo?
No, I think the rates, they are a factor of the complexity of handling the cargo, the space it takes on the ship, and the time it takes to load and to handle it. So I don't think project cargo is sort of handled differently than container cargoes. But what we've seen recently is that the project market has been lagging a little bit behind the container rates. So and you can see that from the MPP vessel indexes. It's been sort of a slower move upwards than we've seen in the container market.
And why is that, you think? How come?
Because project cargo requires more planning ahead. So maybe you plan a project for 1 year or 2 years and you sell your project and you budget on certain costs. And then suddenly, if the market moves like it's done now, you get into an issue where your budget doesn't fit what the real cost of transport is. So I think that's probably the reason. But we also see if the container market drops now, we will probably see the project cargo market hanging a little bit more on the top before that also drops. And that's typical reaction to the market, and it's always been like that.
Yeah. So do you agree, Frank, that the project cargo market is less impacted by these fluctuations?
Yeah, well, I see that it's for a lot of forwarders and a lot of BCOs, it's still challenging to get the cargo on the ships here and there around the world. I think if you see container carriers, it's easier to put 3 or 4 containers on board than an oversized flat rack, right? That needs some more planning and coordination. That's so. I don't say that that you cannot ship your special cargo and your project logistics at the moment with container carriers, but you must have a carrier that takes it.
All right. Last question for you, Jens. There were some companies that have put a cap on the spot rates recently. How do you think this will affect the market?
Well, this one I cannot really recommend because we didn't put a cap on it, but we didn't enjoy the high rates, as I tried to explain earlier, because the trades we are in, they don't require a cap on the rates because they have not gone through the roof because of the trade we are in.
So which trade do you mean then?
Well, mostly we are, as I said, we are active in Europe, North Europe, South Europe, down to down to the Med and up to Iceland. You see different rates there. We don't enjoy these high rates as we can see the container carriers enjoy them on any trade from Far East, East or westbound.
Right. So you don't need to cap them. What do you think of carriers who do cap?
It's a twofold again. Sometimes it's probably a good sign that they give it a reasonable limit.
Do you think it will affect the market, or is it just a publicity stunt?
Yeah. I would rather go for marketing, not a marketing gag, but it's something you can sell if you have a good sales force. You can claim this to be a unique decision, which they may appreciate. But further, I cannot really comment because I haven't thought it through from Samskip's point of view.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have time to think about it. Maybe next year we can see what the result has been.
Okay.
For now, I would like to thank you all very much for joining us in this discussion. Also you, panelists online. And thank you very much, Frank, especially for staying awake. I hope you have a nice and satisfying sleep right now. Frank, thank you as well.
Yeah, I do that, yeah.